Hi friends, Mindy here. I have the last installment of Junk Journal January to share with you. I'm going to be doing a flip through of days 22 through 30 and then a quick process for day 31, and that will wrap up Junk Journal January for me for this year. I will probably likely do Junk Journal July as well. I really enjoy just the freedom that comes from having like some prompts and the creativity that, just unexpected kind of things. So if you missed out on Junk Journal January, be watching for July because Meg at Meg Journals, she hosts this in again later this year. And it's always just a lot of fun. Things kind of push you out of your box a little bit. And then, and what I have tried to do this month, I don't know if I spoke about this in other videos, but I have tried to use things up that were in my stash, but also when I approach the prompt list, I kind of just go with the first thing that comes to mind. And so I don't think a whole lot about it. I only spend, 10 or 15 minutes a day on it. It's not a huge thing, but I just feel like it just kind of helps me get going and just gets me being creative every day, which is just a lot of fun. So let me just jump into this. So day 22 was repeat. And so what I did for this day was just a series of repeated elements. So I did some stamping in the background and I repeated that. I did have these little stickers of the trees. I repeated that, just kind of repeating elements. The snowflake stickers just kept it very simple. And honestly, this was just something that was sitting on my desk from another project. I'm working on a journal with this kind of theme, and these stickers were kind of left over, and I thought, I might as well just use them up. So I'm trying to use all the things that are just kind of sitting around. Day 23 is newspaper, and while I didn't use newspaper exactly, I did have these collage papers that look like newspaper, so I felt like that kind of counted. And then I just created a little cluster with this butterfly. This is from an old Your Creative Studio kit, and then just some other little collage pieces that I've had. So the background of this for me is newspaper. I'm trying to use up those little collage pieces. My day 24 is line, and I started out with just I put some paint, some distress paint in the background, and I wanted to do the art where you kind of just draw something with one continuous line. That was the thing that came to my mind when I saw this particular prompt, and so that is basically what I did here. I just created this little doodle in just a series, like all one line. So it's a very scribbly, very quick, very easy, but it was actually really, really just kind of fun and therapeutic to just do something. They don't all have to be works of art. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I just am trying to take a few minutes every day to be creative and respond to the prompts in whatever way kind of comes to mind. So day 25 was modern, and in my stash I happen to have this piece of artwork, and it actually reminded me of like the neurographic art that people are doing lately. And so I glued that section down, and then I just added a few little lines and stuff around, filled those in with some Posca paint pens, and just left it at that. Just kind of a very modern take on art, I guess. But that was just, again, just what came to my mind. So 26 is movement, and this one, the first thing that came to my mind when I saw the prompt movement was actually growth. And I don't know why I made that connection, but that's just what was in my brain. And so I had these little seed packet ephemera pieces here, and then I came across this in my stash that said become, and I just felt like to me anyway, for just a whole lot of reasons, all of this just made sense for me. And then this number 47 I thought was hilarious because I'm actually turning 47 this year. And so it just kind of was like one of those really serendipity type moments where everything just kind of came together, and it may not make sense to anybody else, but to me it has some other meaning besides what you can see here. And I think that's the whole point and purpose behind art journaling and junk journaling. So this, this is technically Junk Journal January, but I'm using this almost as an art journal, a junk journal. The lines there are so blurry, the distinction between those kind of things. And so some days it's, creating little art, and some days it's collaging and whatever. It just is, I'm just responding to the prompts as whatever just comes to mind. So day 27, the prompt is crumpled. And so I have this tissue that was stamped, or it kind of looks like it's stamped, but it's got like cursive handwriting and postage and stuff. And so I just crumpled it up, and I purposely glued it down like crumpled. I didn't smooth it back down. So there's layers, and it just has a lot of really fun texture. And then I just pulled some ephemera pieces to collage over the top of that and made a super simple page for the prompt crumpled. 28 is sealed. I just had this piece in my stash, again, pulling everything from my stash, trying to use up scraps and bits and whatever. And the first thing that I thought of was a sealed envelope like the wax seal. I don't have wax seal stuff that I could get my hands on right at the moment. And so I decided, I had this paper, actually, it's like an embossed paper. And this kind of reminded me of a wax seal. So what I did is I just cut out this part of that paper, and then I used some foundry wax, some from Tim Holtz, on the edges of that just to kind of give it that look. And then I have this glassine envelope that is, it's actually a vintage envelope, and I stuck it down there, and I have some little stamps that I stuck in there just trying to pull the green and the you know, the color palette kind of together there. And that was a super simple day as well. Most of the days actually were pretty simple. Again, I was keeping myself to, you know, 10 or 15 minutes a day, not trying to do too much. So that I could keep up with it all month long, because this isn't the only, you know, project that I have going on. So it was very important to me to be able to do this quickly. The next day, 29, is reveal. And so what I do have here is this little pocket that I had created a while back. And it has a little journaling card in it that has some you know, stuff on the back. I'm not going to flip it over, but so that's kind of hidden that you can reveal. And then the pocket itself has another tag in it that has also another little pocket that this is an ephemera piece that has some coffee dyed paper on the back. Again, not going to show what's on the back, but and then so it's kind of hidden, and you have to, you know, pull it out and stuff to be able to reveal it. That was just how that worked in my brain. This is some Tim Holtz backdrop paper in the background, and then some dictionary paper or index paper as part of the background. Just a lot of different fun layers there. And then day 30, I had this scrap of fabric that I really wanted to use. It's just kind of been floating around, and this music paper or this music scrap of fabric. And so I created like a little flip spot with this, and then I just have an ephemera piece over here because I had already a pretty busy background, because this is one of those printed papers that I put in the journal when I was creating it. And so I just have this little, I believe this is actually Tim Holtz fabric, if I am remembering correctly. And then that brings us to the last prompt, which is going to be here, which is letter. And so I have already pulled out everything that I want to do for this page. So this is going to go super quick. It's basically just gluing everything down. So I'm just going to talk you through it while I'm doing it and kind of give you my reasoning behind it. So I have this very old postcard. This is from 1931. And I just thought this would be a really sweet addition for a note or for a letter. And it has, you know, this image on the front, and I don't really want to just glue this down and lose one or either side of this postcard. So I'm going to create a pocket for it. And I'm actually going to use this pocket that I just recently created because it's got all these blues and greens, and I feel like it's going to pull all of this together. And then I had in my stash as well this little piece of Braille paper, which obviously these are letters. And so I thought this was kind of another nod to that. And so I'm going to pull all of these pieces together to create this page. And then I decided I was going to add just a little bit of book paper back in the background. Again, not as so that you can read it, and it's not necessarily a letter that you would write to somebody, but you know, words are made of letters. And so, and this I think actually is a foreign language, so I wouldn't even be able to tell you what it said. I'm also going to glue it upside down. I like to do this with text a lot because sometimes if it's right side up, you spend a lot of time, your eye just naturally wants to try to decipher it. And when you add it and it's kind of upside down and you can't actually read it, especially because this is a foreign language, I think it just kind of makes it so like your brain just reads it more as a visual texture instead of seeing it as an actual word that needs to be deciphered. So I'm just going to glue this down, and I will actually trim off the excess, but I wanted to glue that down. And again, I'm just trying to get through all of these scraps. I have piles and piles of scraps that I need to get through. And so projects like this are great for being able to do that. At least for me, if I keep myself to doing it instead of, you know, making more scraps as I go. I'm just going to ink the edge of this one. I also wanted to add this particular page just because this last page that I'm working on here is a little bit of coffee dyed paper. And I wanted to have just a little bit of contrast in color. So even though this is a vintage paper, it's a lighter color than my coffee dye paper right there, obviously. So just going to use that to glue that down. And then I want to basically create this little pocket. I'm going to ink up this little piece of braille, and this is really the little bit that I had in my scrap. I literally saved it because I think this paper is so cool. It was sent to me by my sweet friend, and so I have a few sheets of it, and I've kind of been hoarding it. And so I have this one little itty bitty piece of it, and so I just thought it would be fun on here for the theme. And then this lighter color also pulls in this light color, and just kind of gives a little bit of a break. I don't need a whole huge collage or anything here. I really am just trying to add a little layer of interest. And this pocket is actually made from book paper again, so we're going back to, you know, letters and things. So there's a lot of different ways that you could interpret this particular prompt. I think even if you wanted to look at it like, you know, just alphabet letters, you could cover the whole page in alphabet stickers, or you know, if you had like a really bold alpha set of stamps, you could just stamp different letters or whatever on there. So I think there's a lot of ways to interpret any one of these prompts. And so that's one of the things I love about Junk Journal January and Junk Journal July, is watching the community and how everybody interprets these prompts so differently, and everybody's styles are so differently. And there's always something that you can kind of pick up from watching people and seeing their posts and different things. So it's a lot to be inspired by. So I always really enjoy this project every year. So now I'm going to glue this down, this little pocket. Again, I'm just going down this. And the background of this pocket is actually some Tim Holtz collage paper. I made these pockets just recently on my channel. You may have seen that video, but I just felt like it went really well. And I didn't try to necessarily make my pages cohesive from page to page, but when they were next to each other, I did try, you know, to kind of pull in colors. So there's obviously all of these greens and neutrals, which is why I kind of went with this. And also pulling in, again, these blues and greens. I just felt like this particular pocket with this kind of color swatch on the back was just going to make for a good balance for these colors. And then this way I can tuck my little postcard in there, and I can pull it out and look at it and look at both sides without feeling like I'm losing either side of it, because again, it's from, you know, 1931. I could even put it in here this way and it would match, because again, it's got all those blues and greens, and I actually kind of like that, so I may leave it like that. And so that's it for me. That is Junk Journal January. And I will link all of the videos. I can't remember if I said that, but I'll link all the videos in this series in the description if you want to look at the past ones. I kind of did a video once a week. That just seemed to work best for me. So if you liked this video, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.